When Toshiba bought Westinghouse 4 years ago, analysts and investors went into meltdown. They said $5.4 billion was too much to pay for the US nuclear plant builder. Now Toshiba says nuclear plants are one of the two main pillars of its business, along with memory chips. Japan's plan to cut greenhouse emissions by 25% in 10 years is fueling demand for alternatives to coal and gas-fired power stations.
I believe it is necessary to impose tax on fossil fuels according to CO2 emission.
And Toshiba's president says nuclear power is proving recession-resistant, even during Japan's biggest economic contraction in more than 50 years.
Demand for energy, especially electricity, is suffering because of the economic downturn. But the nuclear power industry is a different story. I think it's the trump card in answering calls to cut carbon emissions. So I believe there's steady demand.
Japan already has 55 nuclear power plants, providing 1/3 of the country's electricity. So Toshiba's looking overseas for growth. When it bought Westinghouse, Toshiba was already Japan's biggest nuclear equipment maker. The deal gave it access to technology used in half the world's nuclear power plants, helping Toshiba take on the world's biggest reactor builder, France's Areva.
We're making a lot of bids for nuclear projects. Bulgaria and the UK are certainly our targets.
Deutsche Bank says high growth in the nuclear business will help Toshiba's shares rise about 20% in the next year. Nuclear power plants may help cut carbon emissions, but they create their own environmental problems, from disposing of radioactive waste to meltdowns at Chernobyl in the Ukraine and America's 3 Mile Island. At least 5 plant orders were scrapped after a string of smaller accidents in Japan in the 90s, and 5 reactors are still shut 2.5 years after an earthquake caused a radiation leak at Japan's biggest nuclear plant. Analysts say another accident could trigger a global retreat from nuclear power. Mike Firn, Bloomberg News, Tokyo.